Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Bostin Loyd's arm and what can happen when going too far with your gear can go wrong. After I saw his update picture, I didn't look at the original first and I thought it looked like he had an abscess, but Alex Viata pointed out that it wasn't quite an abscess, and I agree with him, and I'm going to get down what really happened for you guys. And I really hate to have to make this video because I am not anti-steroid. I am not anti-gear for athletes by any stretch of the imagination. But this is the kind of warning that people need of when things can go wrong. And I think this is the kind of warning the younger people who are involved need to take into consideration before they jump into something like this. Alright, so a lot of us know that Bostin Loyd has a history of using very high amounts of gear. By most people's standards are excessive, but not excessive by professional bodybuilder standards by any means. And he was injecting very large amounts of Synthol into his arms during his last contest prep. It was something like 3 milliliters in each tricep twice a week, 3 milliliters in each bicep twice a week, some pretty crazy numbers. And he also recently had admitted that he was using 13 grams of gear a week. Now, if you do the math on that, even at 200 milligrams a milliliter on average, depending on whatever mix he was using, that's 65 milliliters of oil per week being injected into your body. There aren't enough injection sites in the human body to really properly accommodate all of that oil from a medical perspective for intramuscular injections. Now, he claims that he hit a nerve and it swole his arm up, and I'm going to link that picture here. As you guys can see, you look at that arm, that is absolutely not a nerve. That looks like he hit his tricep, and because he has admitted he regularly does 3 milliliter injections into his tricep, and he probably might be doing more, the tricep will not accommodate that. No medical doctor for intramuscular injections would ever advise anybody put that much oil into a muscle that small with any drug. Now, you hit something like that too shallow, oil is going to seep out. In his case, the whole 3 milliliters might have come out and went subcutaneous under the skin. And that's something that's really popular these days. A lot of guys are doing subcutaneous injections because it turns out they do work, they do absorb, but they're forgetting that the doctors who have done them for TRT are using literally half a milliliter at a time of human pharmaceutical grade drugs. They are sterile, sterilized by a lab and tested at the factories. A lot of you guys are not using pharmaceutical grade gear. You are using underground lab, which can be fairly sterile, but it's not going to have the same quality. But when you start putting stuff subcutaneous, you better be certain of the sterility when you do that. If you're doing that shit with some cheap gear that may or may not be sterile, you are playing Russian roulette there, because you have a much higher rate of infection from that. And the reason is because when all of that seeps out subcutaneous, what you tend to have happen, particularly with 3 milliliters like he did, you see the end result. All of those solvents and the alcohol and other stuff in that mixture causes irritation. And it went all under his skin, and that caused inflammation and irritation that caused everything to swell up. Now, when you see swelling like that anywhere in the human body, it compromises the immune system in that entire area. Well, if you also happen to have injected something under there that wasn't very sterile, it had a fair amount of bacteria in it, at least more bacteria in something than you would want to inject into your body, that 95% of the time your body will handle it just fine and fight it off, but now it's in an area of compromised immunity. So all that bacteria is now inside the skin barrier in the body. And now you see all that infection on his arm, that skin infection, that cellulitis that you have there. It is bad enough that the skin is broken. And I'll link you the picture there. I'll take a look at that. All of that skin is broken. The infection is bad enough that it's eaten through the skin a bit, through the outer layers, from the inside. All right, that's not good. That's a pretty severe case of cellulitis. And if somebody doesn't get that treated, by treated I mean he needs a combination of both oral antibiotics and injectable antibiotics. You have something like that, you get your ass to the emergency room. And it was my understanding last time I checked that he's saying he's not going to the doctor for it. It seems to be getting better. That is dangerous as fuck. You don't play around with infections like that. It looks like there's already some tissue loss in the area. And that's not something you try to self-treat, because worst case, that infection could spread again. You could end up getting abscesses. because it's eating through the skin, you're losing your barrier to the outside. Those scabs break up open. You get more infections in there, more bacteria. You're going to risk losing your arm. You're risking your body going septic, which could result in death. It's not something you play around with. Alright guys, but I hope this wasn't too graphic for everyone, and I feel like it was something I needed to talk about. And it's just something that happens when you start abusing very large amounts of gear. These are the type of risk you're taking. So if that's the route you want to go, you need to be prepared for that. And when you have a major medical issue like that, go get medical attention. I really hope this doesn't end really bad for Bostin and he just doesn't become the new picture for the anti-steroid movement. Alright guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot first.